Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 589. I had the white pieces start with d4. My opponent played knight f6, and we get into a Nimzo-Indian defense. You can avoid the Nimzo-Indian if you want to by playing knight f3, which is actually the most popular move here. But I always like to play this knight c3, bishop b4, pinning the knight. I like to play it as black as well, so it's interesting. e3, the Rubinstein variation. There's other lines here too. Queen c2, maybe the most popular line at the top level these days, or knight f3, the line that Kasparov used to play. Queen c2 is the classical line. But e3, just defending the center and preparing to castle quickly. So c5, counterattacking the center is pretty logical. Also just castling there. I think when I have black, I usually castle pretty quickly. And so actually I was a bit thrown off in this game. So knight f3, he goes knight c6, once again avoiding castling. So when I said during the video that I play this way, actually I castle first before bringing my knight out to c6. Anyway, I go with bishop d3 here. This is good. And now he goes with d5, just establishing a big center here, although this will usually get traded out. And I should just castle here. That's the main move. And this will be a position where white has a slight advantage, not a huge advantage, but interesting position to play. Instead, I went ahead and took right away, and that gets me into trouble, as we'll see in the game. It's exactly because of what happened during the game. So the thing is, if you want to try and remember this, the idea is just to castle your king before you initiate operations in the center that might open up lines. And in particular, it's nice to have this knight free to be able to help defend the center. So the c takes d5 move was just a bit premature. Okay, let's follow the game for a while. Oh, by the way, I had the chess engine on earlier and it was interfering with the recording, so I've turned it off for now, but I'll report on what the chess engine found as I investigated it. Let's see, he takes with the knight, putting more pressure on my knight. I defend with the queen, and then he takes here. And all this is actually okay, although it's equal for black. It's not like white has an advantage anymore since I didn't castle at the right time. And even this move is okay. But I was really surprised by that knight takes d4 move. If my opponent figured this out over the board, that's pretty amazing. But we're outside the opening book, so this is not a standard line that he might have memorized from his opening study. So I guess he found this. Anyway, it's a pretty nice tactic. So I can take back, and then he takes here, exposing an attack on my knight. And I thought I would be okay because I can take back with the pawn and defend the knight, but my pawn is pinned, so he can just grab that knight. And all of this is okay. But it turns out it's also okay for white. And what I can do is I can actually just castle here. And this is pretty interesting. He can grab the pawn, but if he takes with the bishop, he gets into big trouble, actually. So it's kind of funny. He's 2 pawns up, and I would think black would be winning, but he hasn't castled yet, and he hasn't developed his light-squared bishop, and his king is subject to attack. So it's bishop check, and if he blocks, then just taking the bishop wins a piece, because if he takes back with the king, then I have rook to d1 there, skewering the queen against the king. That wins material. And if he takes back with the queen, then I can take this bishop and end up a piece up. So I've won a piece in that line. Let's see, how can he play this, though? Black can still play this with queen takes. And this leads to a position that's about equal. The engine line goes something like this. Bishop here, check, king here, and then queen here. And that is okay for both sides. I guess black with his extra pawns, he has 2 extra pawns actually, is going to suffer a little bit, but if he can survive the attack, he's going to be okay. And so I have enough compensation for the pawns, but not more so. So an interesting game from there. Anyway, the way I played it is actually about even as well. So I took here and just gave up the exchange. He castles. Oh, I castled here, and thinking to chase his queen away, and he just runs away with the queen to f6, and now I throw in this check. And he blocked with bishop d7. And so up to this point, it's been in the range of about even. So I still have compensation for the pawn. I'm down a pawn and the exchange, but if I were to take here, that would be the best way to continue. Drag his king out into the open and play for activity with my pieces. I can bring my rook out with tempo. I can bring my queen over here. I can develop my bishop, and it's enough compensation, I guess, for the material that I've given up, and could be okay. Anyway, the way I played it is a mistake, and after a few moves, I was trying to stop him from castling, but he can just block with his queen. And if we trade queens, the endgame is good for black. So anyway, I took here, he takes, and now he's just better. He's up the exchange. His king is going to get to safety. I try to keep up the pressure with bishop b2. He blocks here. Play queen h5 check. He goes king e7. h3. Goes rook a to d8. Just bringing his pieces out, and queen g4. So up to this point, black has maintained maintained an advantage, but he needs to defend the g-pawn here. Probably just rook h to g1, and he would be okay. It's interesting that the chess engine thinks keeping the king in the center is still fine. I would have tried to get my king over, even at the cost of manually castling, going here and here. But anyway, yeah, the chess engine just wants to play rook h to g1, defend the g-pawn, and black is fine, winning, actually, not more than fine. So he played e5 here, giving up the g-pawn, and after this, I have a draw. He goes king e6, queen g4, he goes king f7, and if I just keep checking, the engine wants me to check with queen h5 check, I guess I can get some kind of perpetual check or a draw. But anyway, I wanted more than a draw, so I bring my rook out. But now black is better again. He chases my queen away. But he had a simpler way to win. His best way to win at this point is just to trade queens and then attack the g-pawn. And if I give up the g-pawn, he's just activating his rooks. But if I defend the g-pawn, he can activate this rook, get it to the second rank, and he should be winning this endgame without too much trouble. So that's how black should have finished me off. Instead, he played this rook g8, chasing my queen away, and I throw in a check. King went to g7, drop back to f3. So just some kind of maneuvering, poking and prodding at his position. Let's say I lift up my rook, going to bring that over to check his king. He goes rook d2, activating his rook. But I throw in the check first, so he's hitting my bishop, but I can throw in this check. And now he makes the mistake, so this next move is what allows me back into the game. He needs to keep the queen protected so that there's no pin on the f-pawn, because I'm threatening with the bishop to take the pawn on e5 once his king moves away. So the best move for black is king to f8, and then black just keeps the advantage here. So that's it's not a simple win by any means, but still winning for black. After the move he played, he went king to h8, and now I'm at least even here. I think the engine rated this as about even. He trades and plays king to g7, so he's hitting my bishop. I drop back, and he grabs his pawn. So yeah, let's pause here for the second. And if we count the pawns, it's 4 pawns apiece. And so he's still up the exchange. All I've done is managed to get back 1 pawn. But his king is awkwardly placed. I have this bishop on this diagonal. I have this g5 threat. Let's see. The engine wants to just move the king away from this pin, move the king back to f8, or alternatively play rook c2 to attack the bishop. Let's see. I went with g5 here. It's my move, taking advantage of this pin. So yeah, the engine would just give up that pawn and say it's about even. He tried to hold on to it with rook to a6, but this doesn't work. And let's see, I take, and then he took back. And after this, I'm actually better because he's giving up the exchange, and he can't take with a king, he has to take with a queen, and I'm able to gather up some pawns. So it went from about even to better for white. And I do manage to keep the advantage the rest of the game finally. Let's see. If he blocks with the queen, I'll just trade queens and have a winning king and pawn endgame. So he stepped out of the way. I went for a check, which just leads to a repetition. So I came back here and grabbed the pawn. So now I'm 2 pawns up, and I only have to make sure I don't fall into some perpetual check. But other than that, I'm winning with the extra pawns. Let's see, he brings his queen into b2, hitting my pawn. I deliver a check and defend the pawn, and he starts bringing his king in. So we get this sequence. Just step through this kind of quickly. It was a long game. And I've got my queen screening his king off. So if the king could have gotten over and coordinated with the queen, there were potential threats against my king. But as it was, I was able to keep his king away. And now he goes for this final check on f2, trying to pick up the advanced f-pawn. But I had seen that actually I can block the check and pin his queen. And so he resigned at this point after the queen trade, of course. It's an easy win with that advanced pawn. So interesting game, little back and forth there. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.